Welcome to Aeon Counseling Presents Lynn Juggernauts. My name is Jennifer Nakhai, and I'm the founder of Aeon Counseling. Today, we have a special guest for you. His name is Emmanuel Gonzalez, and he's an immigration attorney in Lynn. And before we begin, we're going to go over the mission of our program, which is to prioritize and amplify specific voices in our community, especially those impacted by racism, homophobia, transphobia, police brutality, and other forms of injustice or trauma. Welcome, Emmanuel. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for being here with us. For those of you who don't
Anytime.
know him, he's an incredible attorney. He dabbles in business, but his biggest cases are immigration cases where we've worked together. How are you today?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. It's a pleasure being here today.
Mira, introduce yourself, please, for us here today who do not know you.
So, my name is Emmanuel Gonzalez. I'm an immigration attorney here in the city of Lynn. Um, I have been in a Lynn resident for a while, quite some time, 20 plus year to be specific. And I like to work with the community. My office is on Western Avenue, on 679 Western Avenue, here in Lynn. And, we help people from the North Shore, all over Massachusetts, and Rhode Island, New Hampshire, pretty much help people from anywhere in the United States. And I also work with clients in the Dominican Republic and clients in another country. So in different immigration matters.
Y Puerto Rico.
En Puerto Rico, claro, claro que Puerto Rico.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to have you because part of being a lean juggernaut is to constantly be fighting hatred and injustice in our country. And part of what you're doing is exactly that. So thank you so much for collaborating with me on so many cases and sending those over as well. I've been having lots of fun. But also, I love watching the changes that you're creating in our community. Right? I see you doing big things, and that is why I considered you one of the juggernauts. Not because you're one of my best friends. That has nothing to do with.
No, definitely. One of the reasons I like immigration is because you do get to make a difference in someone's life. Anything like, for example, when someone who come to this country and they want to become a citizen and be able to vote for the first time, and being part of that process and being part of making that happening for someone, that feels great. When someone doesn't have papers and they are able to get a job and work legally in this country, that's very rewarding. So definitely, I love doing what I do, making an impact in someone's life, and that's a great thing for sure.
Excellent success rate, in case anybody was wondering. He knows what he's doing and he's not going to steal your money, which I feel like is the first thing that people ask me when they're looking for an immigration lawyer. There's a lot
That's true. That's true. Unfortunately, in our profession, there are people that don't care about the client, or they cares about the money, and they don't care about the work product either. So they just rush things and they don't put the time that they need to put to make sure they have a good outcome.
Well, Manny, thank you for sharing that with us. But also, let's jump right in. What's
Sure.
what's going on? What are
What's
they
going on? Well,
doing?
today focus is just going to be mostly on naturalization or citizenship. We put together a few changes that are coming up in the next couple of weeks that affect specifically people that are looking to become a U.S. citizen. Um, the one is taking effect tomorrow, pretty much. Tomorrow, December 1st.
It's taking effect December 1st. You're watching this on December 3rd at 6 p.m. Yes, continue.
Yes, exactly. I mean, it's one of those things. So the government announced that starting December 1st, 2020, this year, there will be changes on the citizenship test. So I'll give you a little bit of background on what the test consists of as of right now. right now, the last revision of the exam was in 2008, and it consists of 100 civic questions. Civic questions are history questions that they'll ask you about the Constitution, they ask you about our government, the president. They'll ask you different things about the history of this country. Uh, it's composed of 100 questions, and the person, you will be asked up to 10 questions out of those 100. And to pass the exam, you have to answer 6 questions correctly. So that's pretty easy. But most people, they have to like memorize those questions, just like what we did. When we're in school, sometimes you just have to cram it up and memorize all those questions. And what will happen is, the 2020 version of the exam, there's going to be 128 questions.
Hmm.
And out of those 128 questions, they'll ask you 20 questions, and you need to get 12 correct. So they just upped it up a little bit notch. I mean, I always said if you can learn 128 questions, so 28 questions more, but to some people, it presents a challenge.
I mean, it sounds like they doubled up on the difficulty essentially. And for those folks who have maybe learning disabilities, talk to us about options around that because there's always a way. And so you could always send us an email or a direct message, no matter which platform you're watching this on. But please continue. It just sounds like they're making things harder.
Well, they are making things a little harder. So what is not going to be affected? Well, the citizenship test is a two-part test. So there is a writing test, an English component, where you have to write a simple sentence in English. That will not change. That will continue to be as it is. And anyone that needs accommodation or disability, that will continue to be as it is right now. If you have any disability, you can apply for accommodations and complete the form N648 that will allow you to get special accommodation if you have any mental disability that prevent you from learning the questions and from answering everything. So that's why Jenn is a great resource for that type of matter. If you need some accommodation when you're doing the citizenship, there is something called the 6520 a special consideration. What does that mean? The 6520 means that if you are 65 years old and you have been in this country for 20 years or more, you can take the exam in any language of your choice. So you can even take it in Spanish or whatever language they offer. You can take the exam in that language. They will only ask you 20 questions. So you only need to memorize 20 questions. And
somebody's looking for you.
yeah, no, it's an ambulance. So
okay.
COVID.
So that's wonderful. And I know some folks also feel very nervous or just unclear, that also you can request accommodations even if you are trying to take the test in Spanish. So, ask us a little bit more about that.
Well, definitely, you can always take accommodation. Just because it's in your language, that doesn't change the fact that you may have a learning disability or an impairment that can prevent you from passing the test. So definitely, if you need some accommodation because of a disability, it is encouraged that you seek your treating physician to get a referral for someone in that field that can help you with those forms.
So what else is going to change? How are they making this harder now? What else? More questions? I heard something about increased fees, but then that never happened. What's happening?
So Pretty much everything, all the fees are going up, and this is across the board with immigration and also immigration court. The difference is in immigration court, the fees are gonna be like ridiculous. In some instances, they're gonna go up for $1,000, the fee, which is gonna make it impossible for someone to defend their case in immigration court because of cost provision. But with the USCIS, in terms of immigration forms and immigration processes, what will happen is it was supposed to take effect October 1st, an increase in the immigration fees. A federal judge put a halt, put a stop on this. So that's why it hasn't happened yet. Um, that doesn't mean that it will not change. It could happen because immigration is an agency that is self-funded, which means is that the their salary comes from the application that the people submit, and their budget comes from the application and the services that they provide to the public. And they've been claiming that they have been under budget for quite some time. So with a new administration, we don't know how is that going to change, if the fee will still go on or what will happen. The claim about the fee increase was because of COVID. They felt that the judge felt that it was not necessary, it was not the right time to impose those fees. And so right now it's stopped. So you will pay the fees that are currently posted on the immigration website, uscis.gov. And for example, if the fees do take effect, these are example of the most frequent services that people do. I just making a note of the one that are the most that are increasing the most. Like for example, the waiver, which is the pardon, what people call the pardon, that's going from $630 to $960. So that's a 52% increase of $330. The petition to remove the condition on your green card, that is going from $595 to $760, which is a 28% increase. And the naturalization, which is what we're talking about today, that currently is $640 plus $85 for the fingerprint, but the application itself is $640, and that's going up to $1,170. So that's an 83% increase just for that process alone. And there are many other processes, but these are the ones that are going to increase the most. So that's why I urge you, if you think you qualify for citizenship, now is the time to do it, because the stop on the fees is not going to last long. We do not know when or how long, but it's expected to increase at some point.
I'm glad you're bringing this to us because I feel like every time there's a new announcement about fees increasing or any changes, I get 1,000 phone calls in 1 week, and everyone needs to be seen right now. Everyone needs help right now, immediately, and they need to be seen within a day. But then the rest of the time, we're chilling. And the point is to be proactive with this because I feel like over the years, it's only gotten harder regardless of administration. So we really need to not rely on this idea of like this is a Democratic or versus Republican government. It has nothing to do with that. Immigration is kind of a separate thing on its own. And so I wouldn't trust that it's going to get easier or cheaper.
No, that is true.
Yeah.
No, that is true. I mean, if it's something you can do today, do it today. Don't postpone it for tomorrow, because regardless who the president is, let's remember something. This country have laws. This country have immigration law, and whoever is up there, they need to enforce the immigration law, because every country in the world, they enforce the immigration law. That's how they keep a balance on the population and the amount of people that are in this country. So things definitely will not get easier. They're always changing. And even in difficulties of requiring additional stuff and requiring additional things. And I want to remind you that the public charge law doesn't apply to citizenship. So that is something that, as of right now, is something good, something to keep in mind, because definitely things are changing with immigration.
Have you seen any cases in your experience? I was just talking about this the other day, where public charge has been taken into consideration? Because my understanding is that right now in the application, you do have to submit. I didn't know this. You do have to explain what you have used as far as public charge, mainly mass health, like health insurance, SNAP benefits, stuff like that. But have you seen that maybe it's not being taken into final consideration, but is it now part of the process? Because it just sounds scary overall. I get these questions all the time.
Well, that is usually for adjustment status or for other immigration purposes. For the naturalization, that's one of the good things that the public charge law doesn't affect
Oh.
for you to become a citizen. So you should be good if you want to become a citizen and you're concerned about the public charge law. Obviously, I recommend you to consult me or consult an immigration attorney about your specific situation because every immigration case is different, and I always tell people what may be true for someone else may not be the case for you. So always give us a call, and we can certainly review your case.
That's true. There have been no two cases that I can say is like, yeah, it's real straightforward, and you just contact this person and do this. It's always a team effort, even a team beyond us. There's just so many strategies, so many ways. But if you don't try, you don't contact the professionals, and you do it on your own, it can be way more expensive. You're
That
gonna
is true.
you're gonna waste the time.
Doing it on your own is the same as going to someone who doesn't know what they're doing.
I mean, and maybe they're very good at paperwork, maybe. But the folks that I know who've gone through that process hit some extra obstacles that we could easily bypass when you have folks who do this for a living, right? So it's just cheaper in the end to hire someone to help you with it rather than just kind of throwing yourself out there. And again, it just constantly seems in the past 4 years like time is running out. Time is always running out. We have to do this now, now, now. And I don't know that that's necessarily something that's going to change in the next 4 years. But again, do it sooner rather than later because it's only going to get harder for sure.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, things are always changing. You always need to like do it now because you really don't know. And like something that just happened with immigration was um, 2 weeks ago, on November 18, USCIS issued a policy guidance to their officer. And what that means is pretty much like, for example, immigration look at your application every time you petition for someone or every time there is a major change. They always look at your background. They always look at your history. So until you become a U.S. citizen, they're always gonna look at your immigration history. So what they're doing now is when you apply for the citizenship, they're going to look at your case on how you came to this country, how do you obtain your green card, and everything. They're going to do a full review on you. And what does that mean? If the officer feel that you obtain your green card by fraud or you are not supposed to have a green card, or like for example, if they question your marriage, if like now it's very common for them to question your marriage and at any point in your immigration process, they can deny your case, your application, and the officer has the right and the ability to put you in deportation proceedings. So they'll give you a form. It's called an NTA, a notice to appear, where you will have your case will be referred to a judge, an immigration judge, and he will have the final say on your case. And that is not fun at all because it's costly and nobody wants to be in immigration proceeding. It's nerve-wracking as well, and it's uh, very anxious, like being in an immigration process where you don't know if you're gonna be here in this country or not. Like it's very tough.
So, quick question. Is this kind of the conundrum that people keep finding themselves in as far as like, I know some undocumented folks have pushed off the idea of applying for a pardon or adjustment of status or anything like that because they don't want to open up a can of worms that could eventually end up coming right back at them, right? Like what if you get deported and trying to become a citizen? So do you see that often? Does that happen?
That can happen, yes. That definitely can happen. So the reason why you should get an attorney with a license,
Yeah.
you should contact us or any immigration attorney for that matter, is because they up to date with the immigration laws. Someone who just fill up paperwork, they don't know what's going on with immigration. They don't know what's happening across the country in terms of what immigration practices are. So definitely, it's important that someone with experience, they will review your case, they will ask you the right question, and they'll be prepared for most possible scenario, because you can never be prepared for every scenario, but for most possible scenario, like for example, like if you have a criminal history, it's important that you get your criminal case, like you get a copy of your case, of all your cases in any state, and including Puerto Rico, Hawaii, Alaska, or any U.S. Territories, because they will ask you for that information. So it's better to be prepared. Also, they'll ask you about your previous marriages to make sure that your marriages ended legitimately, and to make sure that you had a bona fide marriage when you obtain your green card.
Oh,
So,
you mean the marriages in the other country?
yes. Well,
Oh,
the
oh yeah. There's a lot of people trying to get away with being married in two countries. Nice try. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, that happens too. So, it just like you have to be prepared. But the thing is that you don't know what's going to happen until you try it. But you want to be ready when you submit your paperwork. And also, if you have some run-ins with the law, maybe you want to wait, depending what it was. Maybe you want to wait to become a citizen, and make sure you have a lot of positive factors that weigh in your favor versus that small drunk driving accident that you had, or okay.
Would a DUI be okay? Because I know the three biggest things that'll disqualify you are sexual crimes,
Yes.
drug-related crimes, or drug trafficking, and anything with the word fraud in it. But would a DUI count as a drug? No. As a
Well, there is something called the crimes of moral turpitude.
Mhm.
Okay, when you do your citizenship, the look back period is 5 years to prove you have good moral character, but you still need to disclose any issues you had, any arrest or any prior cases you had. Okay, typically OUI, it depends what you were OUI for. Just want to remember that in many states, like Massachusetts, um, like marijuana is legal, but it's still not legal at the federal level. So for immigration purpose, if you get stopped by the police and you get charged with driving um, with intoxication of controlled substances like weed, then that will affect you, definitely, and can put you in deportation in many cases. OUI for alcohol only,
Okay.
that should not affect you. But if you do get into an accident where someone gets injured, that aggravates the charges, and it could be considered a crime of moral turpitude. So that's why if you had any criminal case or if you had any run-ins with the law, make sure you do go to an immigration attorney that have a license, and they can review your criminal cases and the federal law to make sure you don't have any problems at the time you become a citizen. And it could be also that you may not want to apply for citizenship. Some people are fine as it is, just being resident forever, because applying for a citizenship could like make their case worse.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yes.
I guess I didn't think about it that way, huh? Even for residents, even if you're already a resident and you get in trouble.
Like what do you mean? If
Uh,
you
so if you're a resident and your time's up and you can apply for citizenship, then a DUI with alcohol could potentially, or with marijuana could potentially get you deported. Even
marijuana, yes, because marijuana, yes, because it's a controlled substance, and at the federal level, it is not something that is legal. The only exception is 37 grams or less. There is a potential waiver for that, but anything else,
yeah, but in the context of immigration, I don't think they're looking to see how many things you had on you. So it's like you either had it or you didn't.
yeah, in the context of immigration, a regular OUI probably would be okay, but a OUI with drugs, which is marijuana, that will definitely hurt your case. It also depends how long ago. I mean, something that was 20 years ago versus something that just happened. If it's something, let's say that you did your time, it happened 20 years ago, you never had any issues, not even a speeding ticket, and all that stuff, and your personal good moral character, you're probably gonna be fine. But if it just happened, or you are on your third OUI, that's a problem, definitely. Because
At that point, call us, but for something totally different, not immigration, just like a totally different treatment plan. But anyway, because we see that all the time. It's just not within the context of immigration. That's not usually who gets in trouble in my office overall. Um,
yeah, yeah, definitely. But it's always good, and if you have a criminal case currently ongoing, and is you certainly need to contact us or any other immigration attorney, because you need to make sure that whatever plea you or agreement you have with the district attorney or the judge, it doesn't affect your case. It doesn't affect your immigration status in the future.
That's right. I just heard that they can kind of sneak into your plea deal a clause that basically says like, okay, we're giving you less of a punishment, but you can never apply to be a citizen here. Now you're out forever. It's like they're kind of doing it on the low low. Is that true?
Yeah, you have to be careful to what you plead. Definitely, you know. So sometime the district attorney will negotiate with you, and they will give you a deal that it won't affect you with immigration. If you have a good if you have good criminal law attorney, they can certainly negotiate. Or if it needs to take to trial and they think they're gonna win your case, they'll definitely take it to trial. So that is something really important that you should keep in mind.
And thank you for talking about this because let's be honest. Immigrants, Black and Brown, and Indigenous people are incarcerated or accused of crimes more prevalently than other races. So, yeah, this could be affecting a lot of the people who need to apply for this. So, at first, I was like, "Why are we talking about criminals?" It's actually because more than likely you could get in trouble for nothing at all. So, thank you so much for bringing that, Emmanuel. Lastly, I want to ask you about couples. I do a lot of couples counseling or couples therapy, and a lot of the folks that we do waivers for, as far as medical hardship goes, are families and couples. Tell us a little bit more about what couples can do right now.
Well, if you're a couple and you're in the middle of an immigration process, okay, depending what you're trying to do, it is important. Um, like the hardship, the psychological effect that the immigration case is having on you, that the immigration process is having on you, it is something that they look upon, the officer and immigration. So working with a professional, working with you, is very important to make sure they get all the details, and also working with the attorney because many times they are facts and information that are important that sometimes because of attorney-client privilege, the client tells the attorney, but they don't tell the therapist, or they don't tell you. Um, and just a quick reminder, you have a client therapist privilege. I have a client attorney privilege. So whatever you discuss between us two, it could not go anywhere. It's 100% protected by law. There are some exceptions, but those exceptions are like very extreme. Like you tell us that you're gonna kill someone or something like that, or you're gonna harm someone, you're gonna harm a child. Those are some exceptions where we have to disclose, we are forced to disclose. But other than that, I mean, it's important that you work with the attorney and your therapist together, because it's a team. It's a team. The attorney cannot, as an attorney, I cannot tell the therapist to do their job, or what to say, or what to put on their letter, or what not. But also, we can give pointers as to, okay, the client gave me permission to tell you that this happened. Maybe you should discuss that in more details and things like that, to make sure that the documents are good and are in the best light for your case.
I know a lot of our followers and viewers are therapists themselves. So, hey, ladies and gentlemen, a few of them. Uh, the biggest thing is work with your attorney friends. Okay, definitely listen to them. Even from a professional standpoint, definitely you want to have a business attorney for yourself if you're in private practice, but also in immigration cases, this is a team effort. We need everyone to be on board, from the person who goes with you to your appointment, to the person who's writing up your documentation, to the doctors who are going to be helping you sign off on your paperwork. You want everyone to be on the same page, because I saw the other day a document where they had diagnosed the person with a disability where they couldn't take the exam, but it was not a disability that had anything to do with the mind. So it was just like, well, you just ruined this person's paperwork and chances at getting in. So, we want it to make sense, and you want a team that has experience. At this point, we've been doing this for a couple of years. I happened to get into immigration completely by mistake. It was a request from a client that I had for years. Please write me this letter. This was back in Obama days. And I was like, well, I don't know what I'm doing, but let's write a letter and see what happens. And then I started to work with attorneys in immigration a little bit more closely, and learning what I was doing wrong, what could work. A lot of the time now, what I've been hearing is that immigration officers are kind of making choices on their own and wasting a lot of people's time, as far as like sending paperwork back for typos or small unnecessary mistakes that have no bearing on the rest of the paperwork. But just to give people a little bit of a heads up, when that happens, do not panic. They're buying themselves a little bit more time, but I have this conversation at least 3 times a day. Do not panic. It's simply that they're doing their job, in my opinion, not well, and certainly messing with you, right? They're making the process harder, but it's not impossible. And at the end of the day, if we do all things correctly, that's not really up to their discretion to decide if it's wrong or not. But there are other things that are up to their discretion, right?
Yes, the immigration officer has big discretion deference. For example, when we talk about adjustment status, the officer, the way it works is there are two-step, a two-step review process for the officer. The first step is to make sure that legally the person qualified for the service and for what they're applying for, like make sure that the husband can legally petition, that they comply with all the requirements, pretty much like checklist requirement type of thing. Then the second aspect is just the discretion, where the officer can have inform his own opinion, because every time you give someone the discretion of doing something, then you are opening the door for many things. You're opening the door for people misconceptions on stereotypes. You're opening the door for people just to deny things just because just because.
Oh,
Yes, and the
racism.
R word,
Yeah.
the R word.
Good racism. Doesn't matter.
So definitely, it is important, um, to always present all your documents in the best light possible to make sure you get, um, the best outcome. Attorneys cannot guarantee you an outcome. And I always tell the clients, if someone is giving you an outcome, don't run away, because no one can promise you that you're going to get the green card. No one can promise you, and I will be putting up, a video about tips when hiring someone for immigration. But if someone is telling you you have the best case, your case, I had many cases like you, and I have one at all. Those are red flag, because every immigration case is different. And even if I have the same case as you before, there are too many variables. The officer that will be reviewing the case will be different, and the law may have changed. And also remember, like, your friend that is telling you about their immigration case, they're not telling you the whole story. No matter how best friends you are, they always leave some stuff out. And a lot of people say, like, well, my friend case got approved. Yeah, but that was your friend's case, and your case is your case. So just keep in mind that not two cases are the same.
Yeah. Stay in your lane. Sooner rather than later. Consult a licensed therapist, lawyer, physician. You can always go through your primary care doctor if you have a pretty established relationship there. Not anyone that you just started seeing or that you made an appointment just to see them for that. That's a huge waste of time. Because we get those a lot. Like, hi, I'm here for immigration purposes. Yeah, but you're not full blown intake. So now I have to look at all the areas of your life. And so this is more for like established patients, like folks who've been.
Definitely.
Uh, do you have any questions for me? In the
No, I don't have any questions. Do you have any questions for
I
me?
already asked you all the questions that I had, but if anyone else has any questions left, si usted tiene preguntas todavía, aunque sea en español, you can always email us at getaeonhelp, that's GETAEONHELP would be the fastest reply, and it'll come up here on the screen, real cute. I like doing this. I do like doing this. But Emmanuel, how can people just get in contact with you directly? Because technically the process is that folks would go to you and then you refer them out to me. It's not usually on the other, in the other direction, but sometimes we make it happen. But yeah, so if people wanted to ask you about immigration and start the process today, how can they contact you? What's the best way?
Well, you can call me at 781-346-4874, 781-346-4874. There's always someone there to answer your call. Also, you can email me at e@gonzalezlegaloffice.com. e@gonzalezlegaloffice.com. or e@gonzalezlegaloffice.com. It's
It's fine.
pretty simple. Yeah,
Yeah.
in Spanish.
Pero nada, so thank you so much for being here with us. I'm not sure if we are taking a break until the next year, but we have a couple people lined up already. We have some awesome shows for you, so stay tuned. And thank you so much, Emmanuel, for being here with us today.